Universal Orlando Resort. Two amusement parks pretty close together along with some other various attractions form this iconic resort. If you haven't visited Universal Orlando, then you better get over there ASAP. It's easily one of the greatest theme parks in the world. Now, it's not only their over-the-top theming that gives them their publicity, it's their out-of-control rides and attractions that draw in guests from around the world. I've ridden every single ride as of February 2021 that is currently operating in the park. I have also ridden multiple defunct attractions since I have been visiting this park consistently throughout the past 15 years. So today, I'm going to be ranking every single ride that is currently operating at both Universal Studios Orlando and Universal's Islands of Adventure. I will be summarizing the rides until we get to the top 10 since there are 29 different rides currently operating inside of these two parks. So let's get right into it. At the end of the day, it's a carousel. Nothing special, but fun for the families. I do enjoy how Universal incorporates Dr. Seuss characters into this classic attraction. A classic Dumbo attraction with an original soundtrack and an original theme. The queue line for this is a bit wacky, so I enjoy that, but I hate that you get absolutely soaked on this ride with the water blasters that surround the attraction. The last thing I want to get soaked on is a little kiddie flat ride. Same thing as One Fish, Two Fished, except you get to ride in your little small saucers, and it's themed to one of my personal favorite franchises, The Simpsons. I don't know how or why, but this is the worst Vekoma Jr. coaster I have ridden. I enjoy the theming that surrounds it, and the Hippogriff animatronic is pretty cool, but the ride is rough, and you shouldn't say that for a family coaster. But it was the second roller coaster I rode after my first Goofy's Barnstormer. Another Vekoma Jr. coaster that didn't age well. I preferred this one slightly over Flight of the Hippogriff just because of the Woody Woodpecker narration and sounds that play throughout the ride. You can't go wrong with the classic Teacup attraction. I've always enjoyed this ride because you get an amazing view of Hulk's second half, which is a view that is really hard to get unless you're driving into the park. Yep. A hidden gem for Universal fanboys. A small dinghy slide that is buried in one of Studios' family area known as FIEVEL'S Playland. It is a small dinghy slide, but it's still really fun. While many people debate whether or not this is a credit, I call it one because it was listed in Mac's guidebook as a powered coaster. It is still a great attraction that gives some amazing views of Islands of Adventure. Plus, it has some theming aspects that just add on to the overall experience. This ride may not be the best, especially since they removed the 3D recently, but I am in the pre-show and every now and then in the actual ride portion, so I can't hate on this ride. Petition to rename it to Theme Park Hunting Mayhem, where the ride is you're on a virtual POV of Icebreaker with trains covered in the Premier Rides fanboy logo. Tell me this isn't beautiful. It is themed to The Simpsons, so I can't complain, but it is definitely one of the weaker simulators in the park that is in desperate need of an update. While this is a rare credit since the ride has a very strict height limit, this ride is so much fun. You get some good views of the park and the swinging aspect just adds on to it. While I haven't ridden it since 2011, I remember my rides quite well and I really do enjoy this attraction. While other people may rank this ride much higher, I've never been the biggest fan. The coaster sections are super underwhelming, but the ride does have some incredible theming. It's just not my personal favorite. This ride may have one of, if not the strangest storyline, but it's awesome. The queue line is one of the best in the entire park, and the ride is actually really good. It's probably the best quality simulator in the entire park. While it definitely isn't the best S&S tower out there, it's still a fun ride. The views you get of either Islands of Adventure or the Orlando area are stunning. Plus the launch is really good and that first drop is super fun. Now, this ride is super intense and has an amazing soundtrack and launch, but it's one of the rougher B&Ms I have ridden. It isn't that comfortable and I tend to come off the ride with a headache. It is a really fun coaster, I just never seem to enjoy it. You can't go wrong with this classic dark ride. It is one of the most nostalgic rides out there for me, and its storyline and narration is so iconic that it is easy to just have a good laugh and quote the entire ride. Easily one of the most underrated dark rides out there. Sure, it's not the best, but the facade and the queue line has some of the greatest theming in the world, and the Kong animatronic at the end is possibly the most impressive animatronic I've ever seen. Barely making the top 10 is one of the most classic dark rides out there. E.T. Adventure is such a fun ride with some old cheap effects that just add on to the experience. I don't know why myself and many other people enjoy this ride so much because it shouldn't be that good in today's era, but for some reason it is. Universal probably has one of, if not the greatest selection of water rides out there. All of the current water rides operating in this park are all in my top 10. While Popeye's in my opinion may be the worst out of the three for me, it still is an amazing ride. It's one of the longest and easily the best themed river rapids I've ridden. Now with this ride, it is impossible to come off this ride dry or slightly wet. Every time I walk off of Popeye's, I am soaked. But this rapids ride is relentless and it is a must-do if you visit IOA. A classic log flume but with some amazing theming, amazing views, and some amazing drops. This is a perfect package log flume. Great theming, long duration, lots of drops, it's all you want. The first drop gets you absolutely soaked if you're sitting towards the front, and the last drop is just incredible. It gives me some good airtime, and that small airtime hill before the splashdown adds so much to it. It's an incredible water ride and is one of my personal favorites. Now, my personal favorite water ride in the park is Jurassic Park River Adventure. It is easily the best themed water ride in the park, as you encounter many dinosaurs on your slow-moving journey, and I don't care who you are, but that drop is probably the craziest on a water ride. It gives some of the best airtime for a drop on a water ride, and its huge splashdown can either get you soaking wet or a slight mist running over your face. But in the end, it's one of the best rides in the park. Universal loves to clone most of their dark rides to their sister parks, but this specific model used on Spider-Man, I'm glad they cloned. Spider-Man has some of the greatest effects on any dark ride, plus the way the vehicle moves and interacts with the sets is amazing. I am a huge fan of shooting dark rides, and Men in Black Alien Attack is my personal favorite. The queue line is incredible. Add that with some of the largest sets on a shooting dark ride and it is an amazing experience. The spinning aspect is always a blast, and I am a huge fan of the Men in Black franchise, so I absolutely love the props and scenes they use in this attraction. While I may not be the best shooter on the ride, it's still my favorite at the end of the day. This coaster is the definition of underrated. While the ride nowadays doesn't compare to its prime 2015 days, it's still a fantastic ride. They have been trimming much more throughout the years, where it went from being hit or miss to getting severely trimmed at every point. Now the ride does pull some good G-forces, the onboard soundtrack is always a blast, and you get 4 incredible pops of ejector airtime. The non-inverted loop is easily the best of its kind, and the unique elements really add on to it. While it may not be the best right now, it's still one of my favorites. Transformers in my eyes is the most underrated dark ride out there. It shares the exact same ride system as Spider-Man, and I said earlier that this kind of system is one of my personal favorites. Transformers' movement is much more rapid than Spider-Man, so it is a bit more intense, and the ride has some updated effects that they learned from Spider-Man. While it may not have all of the real-life sets like Spider-Man, it has its moments which makes it one of the best. Now here's a ride I wasn't a huge fan of until recently. Mummy is a fantastic coaster that has a good mix of practical effects and roller coaster elements. The dark ride section and fire effects used on the ride are astonishing, and I know they recently updated nearly all of the effects in the ride just a couple months ago, so it's probably even better now. And the launch into the roller coaster section is some of the craziest airtime you'll ever experience. This ride has 3 really good moments of airtime, and that alone makes me want to get back in line and ride it over and over again. In my eyes, one of the greatest dark rides ever made. It still shocks me that the same guy who made Forbidden Journey made Fast and Furious. Like, what happened there? Anyways, the way Forbidden Journey moves and transfers to different scenes is awesome. Its swift and rapid movement is super fun, and this ride is the perfect mix of screens and real scenes. All of the animatronics and show scenes for the ride are extremely detailed, and the way the ride moves with the screens is absolutely stunning. But there's only one ride that is better, and it's just a few feet away from Forbidden Journey. I've said it numerous times in my past videos, and I'll say it again. Nothing compares to the astonishing experience that is Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. What an incredible ride. The coaster experience alone is unforgettable. With the spike, drop track, backwards section, and 7 launches, it's hard to call this ride unoriginal. The show scenes and props used throughout the ride just add on to the experience, and it isn't a short ride either. Now, I am sure Jurassic World Velocicoaster might take the spot when it opens, but for now, Hagrid's is my personal favorite ride in all of Universal Orlando Resort. So, there we have it. Let me know what you guys think of my rankings in the comment section down below, and tell me your favorite ride at Universal Orlando Resort. If you guys haven't yet, it would be great if you liked this video and subscribed. If you genuinely enjoy the content that I make here at Theme Park Hunting, the best way to support me is to subscribe. And finally, we have our own merchandise. You can go to teespring.com/themeparkhunting or click the link in the description below. As always, this was Hunter from Theme Park Hunting. I'll see you guys later, and follow the thrill.